Thank you for coming. If you're like sitting there. I'm Esther. I have a space in Sacramento. It's called Demo. This is about demo. So thank you for coming. Next. Okay. What is demo? Okay, here's some pictures of demo. Demo's a bookstore and also an art gallery, and it's sometimes we have music shows there too. We carry a lot of like art books, photo books, some design books, and just like a wide array of different print material zines, and then we're hosting like monthly art shows and events. So there's like a picture of the bookstore, another picture of the gallery. We have some raves there sometimes. Yep. And we've had like hardcore shows, skate premieres, pop-ups, just like a lot of different things are happening. Okay, so yeah, when I was invited to do this talk, my first reaction was that I'm not a designer. But then when I thought about it, actually there is a lot of, I've done some different design work for demo, just thinking about what it is as like a brand. And I've also worked with a lot of really talented designers for demo. For example, Tynan, who just walked in, he made that poster in the bottom right. I think he went to Sci State as well. And then, yeah, made like those two posters, the bottom right one and the top, the captcha one, and then I also do like website design and then just a lot of like back end things, emailing people, and just kind of running a business. And then on top of that, for demo, I'm also designing the space. So with the help of some other people, I've like built out the bookstore, do some marketing, and then also a lot of cleaning. Yeah. So the backstory is what I will talk about now. What led me to open demo and how? So first I wanted to do a side note on influences because I feel like as I talk about, go through the PowerPoint, you're going to see probably some themes in my work. And I feel like for me, it's been really helpful I always study people who I really look up to. I'm always like looking at their work, looking at how they go about things. So I want to talk about it. Here's like some of the artists who, when I was younger, I was really looking up to them. Like a lot of muralists, like street art at the time. And then like my favorite painter, who's up at the bottom. I met him one time when I was 19. I'm really happy because he's my favorite painter. And then next. And I did the same thing when I was thinking about demo. I was looking at all these spaces. I like made a list of like inspirations that I have for the space, and like thought about what components I liked. And either there were places that I've been to or places I saw online that I liked the way that they're going about things. So back to the backstory. I started with high school because I feel like this is a time in your life when you're thinking about like what do I want to do with my life, like thinking like what career am I interested in, what do I actually like doing. And for me, when I was in high school, the only thing I really cared about was art. School was like not a huge focus of mine, but I really took a lot of time to paint. And I would just be in my room, listen to music, but the thing is, for me, my family, they're immigrants, and I didn't have this a lot of support to pursue the arts. So when I went to college, I went to a university and studied this program. Oh yeah. So I went to this program and it was called Interdisciplinary Computing Arts and Music. Next. But when I went, okay. when I went to school, I still kind of had the same mindset about school, though I wasn't that passionate about it, but I had a lot more freedom. So with that freedom, I was like, I'm gonna do all the things that I want to do, and I went at them. So I like worked at the radio station. I like did some event planning. I worked in the library at the 3D printing lab, and then I was like art vending at the time. I would do like vendor fairs and like live painting. But I wanted to talk about this a little bit because in all these jobs, like they're all things that they're all aligned with what I was interested in at the time. And they gave me opportunities to like that learn skills either while I was on the job or I didn't have to do that much at the job, like working at the library and I just got to like draw and make things. But for my major, I was doing a lot of like computing, programming related things. But what I really wanted to be doing was drawing and painting. So like those are some of the projects that I was working on in school. It was like robotics type of things, and then like I learned how to do 3D modeling in the library. But yeah, on the side, I was really trying to go for painting. And here's like just some more work that I was doing. Yeah, but as you can see, I was doing a lot when I first got to school, and then I got really like burned out, was super tired because I was working all these jobs, but I was also trying to paint and like do this thing, and I felt really like lost because I really felt like I didn't belong in the school environment, but I felt a lot of pressure from my family to be in school. So I decided I was gonna drop out of school and try to do painting full time. And during this time it was, I was trying to go for painting, but then I was feeling super guilty that I left school, and then the painting thing wasn't really working out for multiple reasons. Like one, I wasn't enjoying it anymore. I was putting all this pressure on this thing. And then also, to be honest, I wasn't good enough to be like painting murals. Like I would try to make it happen, but then like it wouldn't happen. So and I also got bit by a rattlesnake. And then there's just like all these things happening. Like I got bit by a rattlesnake at the top of this mountain, and then I got helicoptered out, and I was in the hospital for a month. And I was just like sitting there thinking, like, what am I doing? Like I felt really like ungrateful, but then also like I wanted to go for this thing. So I ended up going to this artist residency, which I had applied to like earlier in the year. And I think like this was a really pivotal moment in my life because at this place I got to meet a lot of different like artists, and some of them were pretty successful, and some of them like were also just like, I don't know, at different points in their careers. But the thing that they all shared was that they were all in the same place as me, no matter like where they were in their life. They were still going for something and trying to like figure out what they were doing, like really pursuing their practice, and were asking a lot of the same questions that I was asking, even though they were like, some of them were parents, some of them were teachers or like administration or something. And it made me realize that like I was putting so much pressure on this thing to like, if I get there, then I'm gonna be successful and I'm gonna be happy and it'll all be good. But really, like they were artists and they were still like doing the same thing I was doing, but they were just way more chill and they're like really happy and like easy to hang out with. And I was like super stressed, like looking at the world, like I need to do this thing and like super unhappy. So I went back, like spending time with them, I like gained this like happier mindset and just was more open to like the process of things. And then so I decided to go back to school. And yeah, I think like because I was less stuck on this idea, like I need to be like making it as a muralist, things started like flowing better for me because I was also more open-minded. Like I met this person at the school. Our school had this like graffiti board section, and this person would come and like just do these really cool characters. And so like I tracked him down and found him and then made him my friend. And then he was like, he took me to like these tunnels underground and like I practiced like painting these characters. And like over there, he'd take me to these places like, you know, in the middle of nowhere with all these walls. And then I would practice like painting because I was just trying to like work on my skills basically. And then, you know, like I had a friend and he asked me to paint a mural of his house, or you know, at the time I did jujitsu, and then like they were down for me to paint a mural, and then I like some people by like I was still doing like the bending and like live painting thing, so I was just more open to these things, and I probably had a better attitude. So yeah, like, one thing was leading to another, and for example, like that live painting thing that I did at the bottom corner, I worked with them later and they like put on an art show and did this whole thing. And I guess I also put this in here because the people who I worked with here, this was the beginning of like what they were doing. I was in San Diego at the time. They hosted dinners, they hosted like art shows and stuff. But they went on to do like this, they had a space. Um, and they've gone on to put together like a lot of different events. A couple of people in their group like started restaurants, and we're just like we're always like brainstorming, trying to like make these community things happen. So I was 19 and hanging out with these 30-year-olds, but just watching how they were talking about things and getting to absorb like the way that they were thinking about space and people coming together and what they wanted to do in the world. Okay. And then, yeah, so all this was going really well, but then the pandemic hit, which was a really like, you know, affected everyone. But for me, it was awesome because I just started painting and, you know, I think this is I don't know if you guys know any graffiti artists, but this was a time when like it was the best. No one was outside and everyone would like at nighttime, you could just go paint and not worry about people like, you know, the cops or something. So yeah, you can see like I would just like go do my online school during the day, and then at nighttime I'd go on these like missions. Or during the daytime, I'd have all these Google Map pins and like walk to my Google Map pins and then investigate like the surface and see if it was paintable. And then yeah, this is the first train I ever painted. It was really bad. You can see, and it was really scary as well. Like I hopped the fence, like a giant hole, and it dripped everywhere. But anyways, so but I actually got like you can see like from that one train, I improved a lot. But it was because I was doing this. I went like every single day for months, and I would just like go paint outside. And there's something I'll come back to, but I feel like repetition and like iteration is the best way to get better at something. So yeah, next. And then yeah, so when I was painting, I was also assisting this artist, and one time I walked past the skate park, and then I started skating, and I put this I put this in there because it ties into community. Like I went to this place, and this was a place where people will just go and hang out, right? And then this was one of the places. It's this park in San Diego called Chicano Park, and at that park, like you know, all these different people from different neighborhoods would come, but they just hang out all the time. And I got to meet people who I never would have I didn't grow up with, and just like understand a lot more about their backgrounds and just like how to like their life, what motivates them, whatnot. But also, basically, I became their friend, and then also at the time I wanted to tattoo, so I started getting into tattooing, and all these people became like my tattoo canvases. And coming back to like repetition, like I got to practice a lot on tattooing, and it's like how I got better at it. So then I started tattooing, and yeah, because thanks to like all the people that I met at the skate park and other people, like I just got a lot of business, and that's kind of how I started tattooing. I could talk more about that, but I'll just. So basically, I became a tattoo artist at this time, thanks to like Instagram and all of the people, and I had enough clients to open a studio. So I opened the studio, and here's some shots of the studio. I was painting there, and like one time I had a flash day, and a lot of people came. It was great. And then people go next. And I also like painted a mural and like tattooed someone's head and stuff. But I wanted to talk about this too because it looks really great. Like I was killing it, right? But to be honest, I was not having a good time at this time because once again, I got super burnt out. I was like really overwhelmed, and I also was really bad at setting boundaries. Like if you look at that time in my life, like I had all the tools to build something like demo. Like, I had a space, I had a lot of like community and whatnot, but I was just like, I felt so bad that I couldn't tattoo everyone. Like I was really bad at saying no. I had a friend who was staying at the studio, and like I'd invited him there, but then I felt like I couldn't tell him like, hey, you should leave. Like I just felt super bad that like, I wasn't letting him stay there. And then like I was also just like I had a lot of imposter syndrome for all the things that I was doing because I got into these things from a like non-traditional route, whether it was tattooing or painting. Like I was really scared that if I stopped, that everything would just disappear. And so during this time, like I was just going really fast at everything. I had like broken my elbow and like really messed me up for a little bit, but I was just like not in the best headspace, and kind of overwhelmed by like the success, and I felt like I felt like I had to do a lot for other people, and it was taking a huge toll on me, and I didn't know how to get out. So I decided to leave San Diego, and I went to New York, and also I felt, I also I didn't know what to do. Like I had kind of done the things that I wanted to do with my life. Like all I really wanted when I was younger was to like be able to support myself with art. Like that was the dream. And then I was like, well, I also kind of did this dream, which is great, but I don't know what to do next. So I went to New York, and I kind of kept doing the same things. Like I was just skating and painting, and I got to like, see a lot of cool art, and have like a little show from that picture. I also got to meet a lot of like artists who I looked up to. Like in this is like this little picture. At one point, I went to this dinner and I got to meet like a bunch of artists who I had looked up to for a long time and see kind of what their life was like actually as an artist. And to me, I wasn't sure that that's what I wanted for myself. But yeah, at this time I was still just like doing the thing. I was continued tattooing, and I was actually flying a lot to Sacramento to paint murals, like almost every month, starting like in the May that I moved to New York. I was like flying, doing a lot of traveling. Next, here's some other like work that I was doing in New York. Yeah. And here's like more of the murals that I did at that time. So since I was traveling so much from New York to Sacramento, when my lease ended in New York, I decided to move to Sacramento just to try it out. I didn't feel very like connected to the city, and I also didn't feel connected to this like furthering my goal of becoming a like bigger artist or being in these galleries or something. So I wasn't really sure what to do, and I moved to Sacramento. And yeah, here's like also some work that I was doing. But basically, I put this painting in because I feel like in some ways represents like how I was feeling at this point in my life. I felt super grateful. I felt like I was going on walks with my dog. I was going on like walks with my dog and like tattooing, but I was trying to figure out like what to do next with what I was doing. and wasn't really sure. So I ended up traveling a lot. Like I drove with my friend across the country. I like would go climbing, or like I had some friends who lived in Japan. Um, and then like my family took a trip somewhere. So this was a time when it was great. Like I got to travel a lot, and I think that during this time I was really looking for something, and I wasn't sure what it was. But in all these places, like I ended up hanging out in places like Demo, where it's like you get to meet people from different places, or like where it's just like open and it invites people to like come together and talk about things. So I think in all these places, I was like, I did this seed. Like, oh, maybe this is what I would like, you know. So yeah. So then when I was in Sacramento, here's Demo before. It's like my uncle owns this building, and like he had showed me a different building that was gonna not be rented, and I was thinking like, oh, maybe an art gallery or something. And then this building, his brother was using it to play ping pong, and it has like a lot of leaks, and they're just using it as storage. And there's a lot of rat food and dead rat. There's a dead rat. Yeah. So this was demo before, and then and I guess I keep putting my work in there too, because even I feel like I wanted to show that like there was a lot of lulls like in the time when I was really working on my art, but I feel like all these other things that I was doing, and there's a lot of different disciplines I was doing, but they were all helping the individual disciplines to like improve. I think whether they're like things that are making me like meet more people, or just like skills translating from one to another. I feel like these things, um, they were like in making these things improve, like collaterally or something. So, and I wanted to show those things because those interests are the things that have ultimately like made demo have like it's in the books that demo carried, it's in the different communities that come to this space, and it's also like helped me to have confidence that like I can learn new skills. And also it's kind of part of the reason why I wanted demo to exist. It's just so like I could learn all these little skills with like screen printing or like woodworking or something. But also, yeah, so let's see. And then ultimately with the space too, it's like I got to meet all these people doing the things that I wanted, that I was doing. And when I first moved, a big part of why I wasn't feeling so great is because I couldn't meet the people who were doing the things that I was doing. I was like, how can I meet like other tattooers or like other artists? And honestly, I feel like artists aren't easy to find. Like they just like to hang out at home and paint usually, and those are the people I was looking for. So yeah, so that's what demo is now. I feel like it's a place for all these people from different backgrounds to come together. And here is like an ethos for demo when I was writing it. Basically just like copy pasted the idea for like a third space but essentially like when you, and it was for me as well, like when I was traveling, I got to talk to a lot of people who just showed me that like, you know, you can look at life differently, or the last part where it talks about like embracing the notion of praxis, like things always evolving and being built in perfection. That's something that I really like try to embody in demo, even with the name, where it's like, okay, this is a demo, this isn't something that has to be perfect. It's something that you're just like always working on and trying, and ultimately like that's what's gonna make it the thing that it is. And I feel like also if you look back at, you know, the art that I was making in the beginning, I was super stressed because I wanted things to be perfect. But it's only because I was down to like, you know, practice all these times and it was really bad in the beginning, but I think it got better towards the end. Probably still get better, hopefully. So yeah, I put this in because ultimately with demo, my mindset, you wrote community building or something in the caption, but for me, I don't think so much about intentionally building community. I just want to make a place where people can come and hang out and we can all be friends, and that's the best way to learn from people. All right. Okay, takeaways. I made a list of little lessons that I felt like were useful takeaways. So the work is the byproduct. A great life makes great art, not the other way around. I think that it's kind of reiterating what I've been saying, which is that I think if you look to live go do things that you think are interesting, put yourself in positions that are uncomfortable or whatever, those things are going to add a lot more depth to what you're making. You're also going to see other perspectives and art, and that's going to help your art. Versus if you're just really focused on making something really good, that might actually make you really stressed, and maybe your life will be more stressful. So yeah, good, but maybe it would be fun. Who knows? Get paid to learn. I think that's great. Whether it's a job that I kind of made, tattooing, or a job that I was doing in the beginning, they're all things that I was thinking, okay, this is a way that I can use this opportunity to teach myself things. And even with demo, that's exactly what I was thinking. Okay, I want a place where I can learn how to work with people, learn to learn how to be more collaborative. Those are things I wanted to work on as a person, as an artist. So that's why I was also kind of made demo. I think that, I don't know if you can tell, but I tried a lot of different things. And every single year, I'd basically be I'm going to do this, and I do that really intensely for a couple of months, which I don't like. So I feel when you're in your 20s, it's a great time to just figure out what you like, what you don't like, and not take things too seriously. This one, I really like this quote. I put it in the next one. I can just read it. Without a practice, without a discipline, life is pretty much a series of contingent events, moving from one situation to another, jumping from one mess to another, or simply slipping through it all. With a practice, we develop a structure of acting in the world, within which we construct an interior architecture, moving to realize what we are uniquely born to achieve. So I like this quote a lot, and it's pretty self-explanatory, but I think that for me, with demo, I start looking at the world when I'm meeting people. I'm thinking oh, this person could do this in the shop, or I could collaborate with them on this. And I'm also looking at spaces in a different way. Or with paintings, I'm always it just forces you to look at the world oh, that would be a cool painting, and makes you pay a little bit more attention to things. So I think it's something that is valuable. This one I kind of talked about in the beginning, and honestly, I could have talked more about too. But I think that throughout this time, whether it was that group of people I was working with in San Diego, the event people, or those artists who I really looked up to online, they're all people who I was really paying attention to, and I would copy what they did. And then I also think it's really important, when you don't feel what they're doing is relevant to you anymore, and to be able to move on, which sometimes is not easy, but that's also a very important part of learning from people. Don't wait for permission. So yeah, I feel for every single thing that I've done, I didn't have the permission to do it. Some things are really overt, but other things tattooing, there's a right way to do it, and I did not do it the right way. But it's also because when I would go into these spaces, ask for an apprenticeship or something, they were not very welcoming, and didn't make it easy for me to learn the right way. And so I pretty much along the way just been like, you know what, I really want to do this thing and try to figure out like how I'm gonna do it. And even with demo, it's like, you know, I maybe I want to like show my art in a space or something, but it's not really working out. Well, you could just, if you can build a gallery. Maybe you don't have a gallery, you could use your apartment, like you could use the street, whatever. There's always a way that you can make it work for you with what you have. Iteration over perfection. So this was one, there's this story I heard one time, which is like there's two potters and they're in a class, and like their assignment is to make the perfect pot. And one of them spends like the whole class 4 weeks making one pot. The other one just makes like 1,000 pots. So the one who made 1,000 pots made like, by the end, had made a lot of like 100 pretty good pots and one like really good pot. The one who was spending like one time making that pot, he just got really stressed, and then the pot like it didn't look that good at the end compared to the 1,000 guy. So that's something that I've really tried to embody, is to like not get too caught up on like one thing being perfect, just being down to like make a bunch of bad things, and in the long run you'll get better. And then the last one is to have fun, because when you have fun, then you have more energy, you have more motivation to do things, and then you'll have more fun and you have more energy. So it's just like a cycle that goes into itself. But if you're not having fun, then like you don't have energy and you don't have motivation and you don't do anything. So like do the things that you have fun doing, and then if you're not having fun doing it, then maybe like there's probably something else you might be having fun doing. So then do that. Thank you. I hope it was okay.
Of course, it was great. It was really, really inspirational. I think your journey is super inspiring. It was super cool. And yeah, this is a great opportunity for you guys to ask questions. We'll be monitoring the chat if you're virtual. But if not, we'll take any questions from here. Go ahead. Oh, got one right there.
Yes.
What's your name?
Oh, Parker.
Parker.
I think I was wondering, what is demo process for finding clients or just people in the community for you to like host these events? Or like where do they come to you, or do you seek them out? How does that work?
So in the beginning, I sought a lot of people out. So I kind of had an idea of the different like people, communities I wanted to be a part of demo. So I reached out to people that I liked in those communities, even if I didn't know them. And that was part of with demo. What's so great about it? It was like an entity. So I had an excuse to meet these people, because really like my underlying motivation was just to make friends, right? So I was like, I have a reason to go. So in the beginning, I did reach out to people, and then as it's become, you know, more well known, or some people know about it, those people who are in the community who do something similar have to reach out.
Where do you see demo, if you do see it, in 5 years from now? 2 years.
I think my main goal with demo as a space is like because I don't feel like there's a lot of places in Sacramento that make that are like making this place for younger creative people to go. And my long-term goal with demo is really just to like show people like you could do this if you want to with whatever like interest you have. So like to show and maybe encourage other people to do that. And my long-term goal is to like probably close demo in like 5 years and do something else. But it's like I want to learn a lot along the way, you know, and just like have little things where other people get to do things, whether it's like someone hosting a pop-up or like an event or something. It's like really just providing that space and like opportunity to work on that thing.
Yeah, I got a question too. So when you're like first starting to get into stuff, is that just like when you see something, is it immediate like, oh, I have to try that like instantly? Or is it more of like you see it more over time and then you're like, okay, maybe I'll try it out and then see how it goes? But like where do you like find like stuff that you get passionate about and
Yeah.
where you jump headfirst into?
I think that's a really good question because like in the form of a PowerPoint, I feel like that's why like when I'm giving the talk, it's really condensed. But before I did any of these things, there's a lot of like thinking and I get like stressed and like I don't know when to do this and I'm like really stressed beforehand because I don't know what to do in my life. And that's what ultimately like pushed me to like get into this thing. And, or maybe it's something that I really want to do, but I feel like I don't belong or I'm intimidated or something. But then like how I get into those things, I feel like that's something like for me, for example, like that's probably like you guys can probably all relate to this. Like, you might not be here unless you were interested in like design or something. And so there's already something that you really like, and you already like you don't have to ask yourself like why I like it. I mean, I guess you could, but there's a part of you that knows that already. So with everything that I got into, there was a part of me that was like, I just like this thing. It's like I was like have fun. You don't know why you have fun. You're just having fun.
Thank you. We had a question from the chat asking if you still do tattoos.
I do still do tattoos. You can follow my tattoo page at NG Tattoo. If you want a tattoo.
Okay. Okay.
What are like some of your biggest inspirations?
Like, oh, what was your name? And what like inspirations
Like,
in specific like
I guess like when
categories?
you're in the design process, or
Okay.
whatever art medium you're doing, what do you go to first, or like what are you like into like first?
Because I feel like it's different for each thing. There's probably something that I'm looking at that relates specifically to that thing. Like if I'm tattooing, I'm looking at tattoos. If I'm like thinking about building a space, I'll like make a mood board for like the different kinds of shelves that I like. But then I also really love looking at the space outside of the space that I'm working in for inspiration, and that can be really like maybe my favorite way to find inspiration is like when it's not in the medium and like someone's thinking about something in a unique way. You're like, oh, like I never thought like that makes me interested because I can apply that here, and that's really fun. Yeah.
What was one of your like favorite events that General hosted?
Okay. Events. Well, I'm excited for the next event. We're having a zine exhibition and zine like vendor fair in October, and I'm excited for the exhibition part because we're trying to like build out the gallery space as a bigger bookstore, but also have like a couch in there, like a tent where people can read, and, like an art supply station. Try to make it like a fun place where people can interact and hang out. And then also a vendor fair. There hasn't been like a fair with a lot of like tables and stuff, so that'll be new. And just scenes are really fun.
When's that coming up date wise?
That's gonna be October 11th and 12th.
So you heard it.
You're
You heard
free.
it.
You're free.
Are there any moments in your art career that made you went so damn it, I wish I did that?
Like I wish I did a different thing or like
Some art experience that you wish you had done.
not really. I'm like, is there anything in my career that I wish I did that I didn't do? Like, nothing that I can think of that that is like I knew I could have done it and didn't do it. Because yeah, if I didn't do it, it's probably because I decided like I didn't want to. I feel like something that I try to like live by too. Like if I'm scared of doing it, I want to do it. So I guess yeah, not that I think of, but if I think of something, I'll do it.
So I guess jumping off that, how do you get over that initial fear of like just doing it, of like committing to something? Like, is it like just keep repeating it over and over again until you feel like you're at a good spot, or is it just like slowly over time you keep it in the back burner a little bit while you're working on other stuff, or do you just like fully commit to it and get better at it?
I think that when I'm scared of doing something, that's kind of the question, right? Like how do you get over it?
Yeah.
I think that when I'm scared of doing something, it's usually like it sticks in my head for a long time, and that like I think at some point I just get like annoyed with it. Like I'm just like, this is so annoying. Like, why am I so scared? And that's when I'll do it. But it might take a really long time. Like it might take like years or something. Like probably doing something like having a space or even like giving a talk like this. It's like I don't really love like having a lot of people look at me. So there's things that like for a long time, like I would just avoid things for a long time. But then at some point you just get tired of it. You guys don't do it. So that's probably like how I get over it. Nothing that I do, just like with time I get annoyed with myself.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Kind of jumping off of that too, is there anything currently that you're afraid of it's like you're getting that itch to try but you haven't yet?
I think that's something that I'm always thinking about, and I feel like to come back to that like quote that I said about the great life makes great art. I feel like the things that I'm scared of right now aren't necessarily like things I need to accomplish, but more like personal things, like whether it's relationships or like just like things in my personal life that are there. So, but I think that that's like really important because something like I had said before, like I had all the tools to like make demo, but when I didn't talk about this. When I was in New York, that was a time when I worked a lot on like setting those boundaries and like getting better at these things that I was avoiding on a personal level. And because I like did that during that time, it's like what allowed me to like have the confidence that I could do something like demo. But really the biggest thing that intimidated me about it was like working with a lot of people, like, having to like negotiate a lot of different things, whether it's like my personal like energy levels, like what other people want and stuff, like those things. I wanted to put myself in a position where I would work on it. But before I was something I would just really avoid it. Like I didn't want to be like in that space or in that position.
One more.
Yeah.
Considering that you do so much in so many different disciplines, well, they're all artistic, but there's a lot going on. Do you have any practical advice for time management that you apply to yourself, or how you're able to kind of hit your deadlines or make these things work?
Yeah.
Processes there.
And so I think that's something that I'm working on right now, and like I'm always working on. And it's like my dad the other day said something really funny, which is just like he's really neat, and his wife is really messy. Or not messy, just like she doesn't take care of the garden, but he really likes to like take care of the garden. But he got tired of it, so he just hired a gardener. And like these are things that I've been thinking about, like, oh, like, maybe I don't want to spend money or something, or maybe I want to have like control over something, but what in the long run what's going to be like more useful. And so like I've been thinking about that. And then something else that I've been thinking about recently is like reprioritizing and just like basically anytime I've done these different things in my life, I just don't work on the other thing. Like when I'm tattooing, I like didn't paint. When I'm working on demo, I'm not painting that much or tattooing that much. And those things are really important to me. So like I know in the beginning when I start something that like it's gonna take a lot of energy, but then like after that, then I need to like reprioritize and see what do I want to do, how do I want to spend my energy, what's important. So yeah, maybe one thing that I'm working on though is like thinking about how to delegate. Working on that. Yes.
Yeah. Setting boundaries.
That's a good question. Forgot to keep asking people for names. What's your name? Hi, Jacob. I think I've met you before. Did I meet you before? Oh, okay. That's a great question though. I think setting boundaries has helped me with demo in so many ways. Like, for example, if someone comes to me with an idea for an event and I don't think it's a good fit, I can just say no. Like, but in the past, I would feel so bad. Like, oh my God, like, probably hurting this person's feelings. And, like, you know, I want to support them and their idea and, like, blah, blah, blah. Like, I would have this whole thing with it and I feel really bad. But now I'll just be like, okay, like maybe another time, or like let's sit on it, like find ways to say no that feel good to me. And then yeah, I think that's like a big one that I can think of. But there's so many ways, like even like being when I'm tired and being like I'm gonna leave. Like hard sometimes it's hard. You're in a conversation, you're like, I'm tired, I need to leave. But you need to get better at saying like I have to go, you know, in order to preserve your energy. Yeah.
I was wondering, like, because you're captain to whether it's here, I was wondering what were some of your inspirations when it comes to graffiti, because I don't know if you really touched on that. And also another question, how does the graph scene here compare to the scene like whether we're in San Diego or New York or any any thoughts or notes on that?
Great question. So I think graffiti wise, as you can tell, a lot of my inspirations, or maybe you can't tell, but I was really into like the more like artistic stuff. Like I liked characters and I like colorful pieces, not as much like traditional like bombing stuff. But and then also like I didn't talk about this that much, but when I first got into graffiti, I was like assisting this guy who's like an OG graffiti writer. I don't know if you know who like Mike Giant is or like Persuade, but I went to their studio and I would like help them do their own things. And so like they would always be like, you need to work on your letters and stuff. So I was just like, like so that was like one side of it. But then also like in like a lot of my favorite graffiti writers are like my friends, one of my they're the people who go paint with or yeah, I would meet people like in the Bay, they take me around and stuff. So those are like my influences. But the scenes are like I feel like San Diego and Sacramento too have a really strong like buff. Like they buff a lot, so you paint just like buff. But New York has like no buff because it just gave up. So it's like it doesn't paint, it just stays there for a really long time. So that's like the nice thing about New York. There's just a lot to look at. But in some ways it's like overwhelming. It's too much to look at in the longest it's like so yeah. But those are my different thoughts on graffiti. I don't think I'm like the expert, but it's just like I'm definitely not the expert.
You're really good.
Oh, I just like I think that helped. Like what helps for me was just like coming from.
Yeah. Well, like, what do you think? I'm assuming both, like all spaces have like the best spots. But what in your opinion, best space or what location have the best spots?
Okay, why I was really excited with the Sacramento lines run through Sacramento, so you can like paint those. But then I feel like what was really fun, maybe just because I was painting a lot out there, but I really liked like the bandos and stuff. So I was like hiking more like underground, like tunnels. So like San Diego was super fun for that. They have a lot of like, really big like pits and tunnels and like cool like outdoor bando spaces. Versus New York, everything's just like, you know, like street spots. So questions, comments, thoughts?
Yeah, what's your favorite tattoo that you ever did?
Oh, like I've done some cool like sleeves, like back pieces. I like the big pieces. I like big art. You can't tell.
Well, if there's no more questions, I'll give them a big round of applause.
Yeah, for coming. If you have questions that you want to ask me personally, you can ask me.
Where can they find you after this event?
You should just go to demo. Go to the bookstore. Or you can follow me on Instagram. I'm private right now. Oh, where's the location? Demo. Oh, I should put the address. But yeah, it's on 2211 16th Street. And
Yeah, you can send it to us.
yeah, I'll send it to you guys and you can like, follow it. But the Instagram's demo spot. Demo.spot. Yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I feel like, yeah, I'm kind of like, I feel grateful you guys invited me to talk. In some ways I've done a lot, but in other ways I'm just like just floating along. So I feel grateful that you all listened for an hour.
Of course. Thank you again. So let's give one more round of applause. Coming. We have another event tomorrow. If you all are interested for that, if you have any more questions, you know where to find her. If you need to review anything from the talk, it's going to go up on YouTube. And yeah, thank you all for coming. Have a good rest of your night, and I'll see you guys when I see you. Hopefully tomorrow, but if not, that's all good. All right, cool. See you guys. Have a good rest of your night. Bye.
Where's the YouTube link?
It's going to be in our Discord. I will post it again on our. Oh, sure.
Sorry. I'm so behind on